How is it going, my guys? Stu here. Listen, it's been a while, again. Summer was very busy. As such, you may have noticed I haven't done a last month in Letterboxd in quite some time. A couple of months, if you will. I have still been seeing things over the summer. Big things have been coming out over the summer, which I have seen and you might want to hear about. So I thought I'd wait until September, and then I'll just go through the months that I missed in like one big summer extravaganza last month in Letterboxd for you. But then what happened was the weather systems. It's September, we're almost halfway through September, it's 31 degrees in London, bloody heat wave. So I was expecting summer to have wound down by now a bit, right? It looked like it was going that way. Things were getting cooler, things were getting rainier here in the UK, and I thought, wow, great, we're on track, we'll wrap up summer. But no, it's stupidly hot and sunny still. So, you know, I don't know why I'm letting the weather dictate whether I do this video or not. But the point is, summer is still clinging on, but I've got to get something out to you guys. I feel like it's just sat there, clawing at me, waiting to get out for you guys. So we're doing it. We're just going to do this video anyway. And I'm sat here instead of the usual spot because I must reiterate, it's far too hot here in London. So I've come to the slightly more airy part of the room. I'm keeping the doors open. It's too hot. If I shut those doors, right, 5 minutes time, you're not going to be able to distinguish a man or fluid in front of you. It will just be wet. So we're in the living room. Welcome to my living room. We've got the doors wide open. You'll probably hear some shit from outside. I live in Tottenham. It's just perpetually noisy here. But we're going to do it. We're going to go through this summer on Letterboxd, and I'm going to catch you guys the heck up. Get excited. Get yourself a beverage. I've got one. Here's one I made earlier. Stella Artois. It's San Miguel. It's open. Might not even drink it. Just gonna do this. Oh God, that's good. Now, because there's quite a few months to catch you guys up on, this is probably gonna end up being a slightly longer video than usual. So what I'm gonna do, because I'm that kind, is split it up into chapters based on the month. So we'll go May, June, July, August. 4 months. What have I done? You can use YouTube's handy chapters that they do to scroll through, or time codes here for you bloody analog users out there. You're living in the dark ages, mate. There are chapters now. Skip through to the months you want to check out. Although I can't. Why would anyone have a preference? Would you come on a video like this and go, I'm only interested in July? Maybe you would actually. Release dates. I'm just working things out. Let's get into it. I'm rambling. So let's open this bad boy up. Scroll back down to Ruddy May. All that time ago. What happened in May? What happened in May? I'll tell you how May started, and that's with this guy watching a Ruddy classic that he's never seen before. 2nd of May, Blue Velvet. David Lynch. I am ashamed to say I've never seen a lot of David Lynch films, despite calling myself a David Lynch fan. Although I feel like you get through a certain amount of Twin Peaks, you get to call yourself a fan. But Blue Velvet is one which I have been meaning to tick off my list for a long time. I finally thought, you know what? The time is right. It's the bloody 2nd of May, 2023. David would have wanted it. I don't have a huge amount of new stuff to offer that people haven't already said, so I just said, oh, fuck me, man, this rips way hard. I know there are like more and more people out there that get annoyed at people leaving like one-sentence joke reviews on Letterboxd, and to them I say, well, yes, if I want to write, oh, fuck me, man, this rips way hard about Blue Velvet on Letterboxd, I'm going to write it, all right? Love the mystery of this thing. You know, obviously weird as shit because it's David Lynch. But I will say that I love David Lynch's style of weird, batshit mindfuckness because it doesn't feel like you're missing out on a huge amount essential to the story like some of the directors do end up falling into. You know that it's not necessarily going to click into place immediately, but it's going to add to the whole kind of atmosphere and you know, the feel of this ride. Blue Velvet, it's a bloody smasher. 4.5 stars. Then next up, I watched the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. This feels like many years ago. But this has been a long summer. Listen, I'm so sort of done with Marvel. I've said it in many of these last month on Letterboxd before, but I think Guardians of the Galaxy 3 was like the last kind of remaining hope I had for Marvel because it's based off of a trilogy that I've enjoyed so far. So I feel like at the very minimum, I was going to go into this and probably enjoy it. I like James Gunn. I like these characters. First half is just kind of mess of things happening that aren't really very good, but then remarkably, it all coalesces into a kind of fucking great last hour. First hour was where I had a lot of the kind of, this is why I don't like Marvel, why am I watching this thoughts. And then the second hour, despite having just said that about the first hour, just comes out of nowhere and delivers some goods. 3.5 stars for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I think that's the last Marvel film I'm going to be watching for a while. Then on the 5th of May, the good stuff starts to come in because I saw what is, I think currently, I'll have to check my list, I'm too lazy to do it right now, even though I've got Letterboxd open. But I think this is still my favourite film of the year. It's Return to Seoul. Holy heck, what a film, huh? Park Ji-min absolutely tears this thing up. What a performance. Yeah, so good. Just fantastic, this film. I have done a full review of this one, as I forgot to say with Guardians of the Galaxy 3 as well, so links are in the description below for the full thoughts on that on the channel. But yeah, this was just a really fantastic little gem that kind of came out of nowhere for me. The sort of drama that I think could have gone in quite a conventional cliche way under lesser directors. But mainly though, that lead performance from Park Ji-min, yes, just fantastic. 4.5 stars for Return to Seoul. Let's have a drink to that. Oh, it's already warm. Not nice. And then on the 6th of May, we watched the second to last film I watched in May. I can't remember. I absolutely did. I mean, this is how logging things works. But no way did I only watch 5 films. That's devastating. But I rewatched *Malignant* on the 6th of May. If you know me at all, if you've seen any of my videos before, or you follow me on socials, you'll know that I'm a big defender of *Malignant*. Anyone that doesn't think *Malignant* is fucking awesome is wrong. Rules so hard, I'm just giddy every time I watch it. Yeah, it's a film which, you know, the end of this film is the big thing that gets everyone hooked, I think, and that everyone remembers. And I think there was a sort of fear that every time you rewatch it, you'd lose something because, you know, without the surprise, does it still maintain the kind of charm of the batshitness of that ending? But it does pull it off every time, and I think that's a testament to how effective this film is, that it still makes you feel the same way on rewatches as it did the first time you saw it in the cinema. Just getting to the final stretch of this film is just such a joy. It's a very specific pleasure. 5 stars. It's full 5 stars. Don't care what you say. It's a fantastic fucking ripper of a film. And then we finished the month off on the 9th. There has to be something. Did I just not log things, or did I really truly have the busiest May of all time? I only watched films up until the 9th of May, apparently. I think that's true. But I finished the month off with The 8 Mountains, which again, I have a full review for on the channel. You can go ahead and check that out in the comments down below. But for now, yes, very lovely film. Long, lovely, pretty film. A stupidly absorbing, gentle and picturesque look at lifelong friendships, what it means to come in and out of each other's lives. That is a very specific and lovely sort of human... not emotion, I guess, just like life experience vibe to have to get right in a film. I think this film does it really wonderfully and really tenderly, and I love that. I love films which can effectively cover large spans of time and see, you know, characters coming in and out of each other. I don't know. Is that a particularly coherent thing to say about a film? I just like that specific vibe. This film's a good vibe, and added picturesque scenery as well with nice pretty mountains. 4 stars for The 8 Mountains. If you haven't seen it yet, it's sure to be one of the prettiest films of the year come the year's end, so definitely check it out. Very, very good. And that is the end of May. I'm not going to let up this. What have I done? Tiny month, futile month, insignificant month. What am I doing? We'll move on to June, which obviously comes after May in the calendar year. Another similarly small month, but a bit long. 1, 2, 3, 6 films. I started things off on the 1st of June with one of the most anticipated films of the year for me, and that is the new Neil Breen film, Cade the Torture's Crossing, which is a full 5 star for me. I don't think I need to explain it. If you haven't seen a Breen film at this point, just go watch a Breen film and then come back and you'll know. You'll know. A masterpiece. It is. To this day, some of my favourite cinema experiences of all time, 2 of my favourite cinema experiences of all time, are Neil Breen films. Shit's absolutely crazy. I love it so much. It's like a healing experience for me in many ways. Don't let yourself be put off by the quality of these posters, you know? The films are beautiful. 5 stars for Cade the Tortured Crossing. Obviously, 3. Then on the 3rd of June, I kicked back with an old school classic. I went to my Blu-ray shelf, which is, you can see behind me here, and I took one out which was in its wrapping. For a long time. I tend to do that with a lot of films. But it was an Arrow slasher classic by the name of Pieces, which I've been wanting to see for a while. And you know, those evenings come along where you're like, I need to kick back and I need to watch people get, you know, ripped apart by a killer in an 80s film. This was sensational at almost every turn. Wonderfully 80s ADR, an all-time slasher ending too. Yeah, I'm not going to spoil, obviously, how this thing ends. But if you have not seen Pieces, watch it for the ending alone. Just, you won't be able to predict it. Mental. Like, I'm talking the very ending. Because if you're watching it and you get to the last 10 minutes, you're going to be thinking, Stu, what are you on about? This is a completely normal 80s slasher film. I'm talking the last 10 seconds of this film. It borderline feels accidental, but it's in there. Crazy. 4 stars for Pieces. Listen, I don't know what else to say other than just it's fun to watch people get cut up in the 80s. Talking about films. Don't put me on any lists. Then on the 10th of June, I kicked back and watched Tropic Thunder, which is a film I haven't seen for a long time, and that came out at a very formative period of my teenage life. So I'm always a bit, anxious to go back to films from that point, because are they actually going to be as funny as I found them then? But Tropic Thunder does still hold up. I'm very happy to say this film is still really, really fantastic. Has a studio comedy ever gone this hard? I don't think a studio comedy has ever gone this hard. I'm not convinced a studio comedy ever will go this hard again. My favourite thing about Tropic Thunder is that they just throw everything at it, like in a budget, in a kind of parody sort of way, right? I love films that are able to do the thing that they're parodying effectively. It just adds this whole other level to the film, and the kind of Vietnam film that's happening in Tropic Thunder is big and Vietnamese, and I love that, and it just adds this layer of, I guess, kind of authenticity to it. Hear me out. I just mean that, like, if Ben Stiller and stuff are gonna take this on, it's nice to know that they know what they're ripping into, right? If that makes sense. But there's obviously, a genuine commitment to craft in here, which is really great. It's a really good looking, like a very gritty, good looking film. I think it really nails the vibe of a Vietnam War film, which is just so good and so quotable. Just, yes, very good. Still very good. 4 stars for Tropic Thunder. Then on the 12th of June, I went out and saw Asteroid City, which is, of course, the new Wes Anderson film. I was supposed to get a review out for that one, but, things busy. I don't know how many times I've got to say it. But I really, really enjoyed this one. I think, Wes Anderson now, for a lot of people, is going the direction of love or hate, And the reasons people dislike his films, I'm not going to pretend to not understand why they say that, but I'm not quite sure that I believe the whole kind of his style is the same thing every time. I enjoy watching him go through new stories and new narratives with his style. That's the point in directors, isn't it? Obviously lovely and stupidly well crafted, but extra points for landing emotional resonance a little more than Wes's other recent efforts. It all comes together, I think, for me in a very specific moment of this film, which I won't spoil in case you haven't seen the film, but if you have seen it, it's towards the end. There's just a really lovely kind of scene between two characters on a kind of set balcony that I just think ties this film up so well. Up until that point, I would have said I really enjoyed this film, but it wasn't, fully clicking for me in many ways that I want a Wes Anderson film to click. But yeah, the end really does deliver and land and tie up a lot of the things I wanted it to tie up in the film. I think he does a really good job with it. I really, really liked it. It's not my favourite Wes Anderson, but it definitely feels like a very, very strong time. I give it 4 stars for old Wesy. Wesy the Bezzy, the Bestie, the Bezzy, the Prezzy. I'm just sat here in my living room, rhyming words. We'll move back to the diary and we'll look at whatever I watch next. I watched Bros, a rewatch. If you remember from last year's London Film Festival, this one showed. I was really excited for it. It was really good. Had a wholesome time, laughed along with my very good buddies in the cinema to it. I rewatched it because I needed a rom-com to kick back with, such as life. And I will say, it's not as good and, funny as I quite remember it being. That's not to say that it isn't good or funny. I still really like it. But yeah, I think there are definitely things which don't necessarily work for me on rewatch like they did on initial watching, which is a bit of a shame. But still get wrapped up in it all and love the cheese. Yeah, I love a kind of unashamedly cheesy rom-com. We don't get a lot of them, to be honest, or a lot of them that do it effectively without feeling like they're having to sort of tear down the genre and like take the piss out of itself. Bros is a sufficiently cheesy and very heartwarming and genuine film, I think, in the end, which I really like. So for all of its problems, it does still leave me feeling happy and squishy, which is what you want from a rom-com. I don't know how else to say it. 3.5 stars for Bros, so a dip in the star rating there by half, I believe. And then I finished the month off on June the 29th with Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, which was obviously a rewatch before the new one came out. Because a new Mission Impossible comes out, you're gonna go back and rewatch some of the old ones. You gotta get the classics out of the way. I was gonna do a full rewatch of all of them. But who the hell am I kidding? Why did I think I was gonna be able to do that? There's many films there. I couldn't even watch... I watched 6 films in a whole month. I think I was going to get through 6 films in, a few days? So I just stuck with Rogue Nation, which is a banger for me. One of the ones that I really, truly love. Rewatching for obvious reasons. Still slaps. Always love whacking this thing on. Just stupid good set pieces. Yeah, one of the things that I love about Mission Impossible films is seeing how effectively they basically just weave together all of the set pieces. Because, by all means, a good Mission Impossible film at this point are just a series of big set pieces woven together with a kind of as much of a storyline as you need. But I just like seeing the way that they kind of weave the action sequences together with action, you know? An action scene will start in one city on motorbikes or whatever, and then it will end in a different place, in a river or something. And you're like, hey man, how did Tom Cruise get there? Because he's Tom Ruddy Cruise. He's a lunatic. I love this one. It's great. The opera house scene in this one, I've said it before, I'll say it again, is probably one of my favourite set pieces of the entire franchise. Shit slaps. 4.5 stars for Rogue Nation. And with that, June comes to an end. So see you later, all the people that were watching for June. Have a good evening. Welcome everyone that was interested in July. There may be crossover on some of those. So if you're still here from May and June, ladies and gentlemen, round of applause for these guys, sticking it through, minutes of content. Just great stuff, we love to see it. I will say, July is a bigger month. I'm looking at it now, and I'm, you know, compared to the 5 and 6 film months we just had before, July looks stacked, man. How did I watch this many films? Clearly, I just thought, I haven't watched enough films, I need to do this, which is a good place to be, I think. In life. What am I talking about? I'm rambling. July, where did we start? 3rd, we watched another Mission Impossible film. I said I was going to watch a few, didn't I? Fallout, the last one. Every rewatch, I'm just reminded of the amount this thing slaps repeatedly with its glorious action set pieces, which more than make up for the occasional slip up, all fingers pointing at Henry Cavill. Yeah, I love this thing, man. This is probably the one that I crave rewatching the most. Like, I'll be sat there knowing I should watch a new film I haven't seen before and just thinking I've got to whack on Fallout. Like, it's just usually sat there on my shelf. Just call him a fucking name, dude. It wants to be watched. I love it so much. The set pieces are great. I don't need to talk about them in great detail. I've talked about them before. Everyone knows what they are at this point. But, you know, jumping through the skies, dude, that was nuts. And then everything else. Like, this film has like 5 back-to-back of the craziest stunts I've seen in an action film ever. I love it. But as I said, Henry Cavill is is very funny in this film. Like, he does make me laugh. It's kind of charming how, like, not great he is in the film. But he does reload his arms, so like he gets points. He can do what he wants in the film. 4.5 stars for Mission Impossible Fallout, or should I say Mission Impossible He Fell Out a Plane. Am I right? But next up, I watched Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, which is, of course, the new Mission Impossible film. The reason I was watching those previous ones. I have a full review for this on the channel, so you can check out what my thought about it in the comments down below. Not in the comments, in the description. Unless you want to comment me links to my old videos, in which case, don't do that, you weirdo. I know where they are. I guess technically a notch down for the franchise after the highs of Macquarie's previous 2, but this is still an absolute riot. Notably more playful than the last, which was a welcome evolution of tone. I really enjoyed how much this one was just having a lot of fun with itself, right? And it just kind of amps up the playfulness in a way which doesn't feel like it gets in the way of the Mission Impossible-ness that you want from a Mission Impossible film. Mission Impossible-ness. Who am I? What am I doing? 4 stars for Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. Excited for the next one. Anxious for the next one, I think, but, you know, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Then on the 6th, I watched a very big comfort film for me. It's The Way, Way Back. You know, the comfort films for me are either like slashers or like very charming, heartwarming indie coming-of-age films. They go hand in hand, evidently. God, I fucking love this film, is all I said about this one. I don't need to say... I do. I fucking love this film. I don't know. Like, it's just a very awkward, little, quirky indie gem in a very good way. I don't mean that as a negative. Thoroughly enjoy it. Thoroughly enjoy the soundtrack. Everyone in it. Everyone's killing it. 4.5 stars for The Way, Way Back. Then I watched Transformers Rise of the Beasts on the 14th, which was not good. I don't know why I watched... Why did I watch this? I know why I watched it. We were watching a shitty film with some beers. I was kind of hoping it might be better because I think Bumblebee was better than the previous 2 Transformer films. But it's just sort of the same old nonsense. What is going on with how many Transformers there are? Huh? I know it's based off toys or, you know, and there have been cartoons of the Transformers. So if you're going to say, well, the reason there's a big monkey Transformer is because they were the toys and the television show of it. Yeah, but like... It's stupid. It's so very silly. And no matter how much it tries to throw in like little kind of fun jokes or be a little bit playful with its characters, it isn't fully grasping how silly that is. The films, they take themselves too seriously for how silly they are. The level of silliness through the Transformers franchise is a straight up line, right? And the kind of playfulness is not matching it. I don't care what you think. It ain't matching it. The lines are not like that, right? It's like silliness and then like playfulness. It's like down here. You need to catch up, my dude. start shitting on your own films, my guy. These films, I will only start enjoying Transformers films again if in the final act, someone damn just looks at the camera and says, dude, what the fuck are we doing? Yeah. Or like, after the fucking, I don't know, parrot Transformer comes out of the woods and starts talking, someone just says, I'll stop you there. What the fuck are we doing? 2 stars for Transformers Rise of the Beasts. More like Transformers Rise of my boredom. Am I right? I can do better, and I'm not going to go back to the workshop on that one. Then on the 16th, I watched a film which I've been meaning to see for quite some time. It was on MUBI. I thought, hey, today I'm going to do it. I'm going to watch The Five Devils, which is a French film starring Adele Exarchopoulos, who has also been in Passages recently. I thoroughly love her as an actress. We're not going to go into it. She's fantastic. And this one was really kind of quite an interesting, charming little gem of a film. Much different film to what I expected. Really like the concepts and the way the narrative and character relationships piece together with a pretty creative use of plot devices that feel refreshing and new on the whole. It does feel like a film where you can see the ideas being pitched a little bit more than you can see the ideas working in the film, which is always a little bit frustrating. But I think ultimately it is one of those films which, you know, despite never reaching the heights that I think I wanted it to, knowing what's actually going on, having it revealed to me throughout the film, it does still land enough, and it does feel like a comprehensive enough piece and an interesting enough piece to have been worthwhile. 3.5 stars for The Five Devils. And then on the 17th, I went and saw Barbie. I don't need to explain this one at all, do I? Because this film, everyone saw it. Everyone everywhere went and saw this film, didn't they? It was kind of nuts. I have got a full review for it on the channel, so you can see my full thoughts on Barbie over there. But for now, an absolute hoot, if a little by the numbers in its emotional depth. Supremely weird and silly in a very early millennium buddy comedy kind of way. Greta pulled it off. I will say that now, in that rare situation in a YouTube video where I'm like, what, a few months on looking back at it, I don't think this film had the lasting power that I would have liked to have seen from it, right? I don't feel hugely urged to go back and watch it, and I don't think it's sort of something that keeps coming back to me. By all means, I've kind of just sort of forgotten about it a little bit. It doesn't really have the legs I think it should have. I'm probably the odd one out on that. But really good fun time, and it was a hoot of a press screening. It was one of those press screenings where everyone's sort of just having a good time, all smiles, dressed up, watching a film like this with your buddies. You can't beat it sometimes. So yeah, thoroughly enjoyed Barbie, 4 stars. And then we watched Talk to Me, which again, I have got a full review for on the channel. You can see that in the description down below, which is a new horror film by Raka Raka. It's Australian. It's nuts. It's completely nuts. It's batshit. If you haven't seen Talk to Me and you're a fan of horror films, you need to see Talk to Me, is essentially the lesson here. This one is a film which I do still think about a lot, that has fully sunk itself into me. Absolute banger, deeply fucking grim, sadistic, playful, unhinged. All of the adjectives you look for in a horror. Very kind of, yeah, unhinged and sadistic in, I guess, the gleeful way that the Raka Raka guys throw us through all the horrifying stuff that's going on in this film. Really good shit. Apparently they're doing a prequel or a sequel or whatever. I'm not sure we need it, but I will go and see anything that these guys make, because I enjoy seeing creators go and create shit, right? Like YouTubers go on to make good shit, and I like it when they do it well. 4 stars for Talk to Me. Then on the 22nd, I saw the other half of Oppenheimer, the Nolan one. It came out at the same time as Barbie. I don't need to explain this to you. Everyone knows this. I was very excited for this one. I think more so than Barbie, just because... I mean, Barbie I was excited for out of intrigue. This one I was excited for because I know that Nolan is probably going to smash it. I was really gutted I didn't get to see it in IMAX. Hopefully one day I can see the 70mm IMAX projections. But as of now, no, have not seen it in IMAX. Lots. Want a second watch? Be good though. I kept my thoughts brief on this because my original intention was to go see it a second time and then review it. But what happened was I didn't do that. Very good though. Very overwhelming in many ways. I'm not sure all of it 100% lands as well as I would have liked it to, but just thoroughly engaging, entertaining. The 3 hours absolutely zips by. Everyone's very good. Oppenheimer, eh? Good stuff. Good stuff from Nolan. And Killian. An old Killian. They're having a good time. They're having a silly goose time. You know what? One thing I will say though here, I can't be the only one that found it so funny every time Einstein popped up. Towards the end, like they are revealing this motherfucker in the. They had to have been laughing behind the cameras. Like I swear to God, there's one bit where like a car pulls away, and Einstein's just there, and I think he's in like trackies or something, and I think he actually swears at Oppenheimer. I think he says something like "fucking pull yourself together" or some shit. I don't think he does say that exactly, but it's something like that, and it's so funny. I loved it. It didn't derail the film for me. If anything, made that bit better in the film. All films should have a moment where Einstein is revealed from behind a car and tells the lead character to fucking pull themselves together. Oh, good stuff. Nolan did do a good job here, didn't he? He did a very good job. He did a good Jobbenheimer. I should leave this room, shouldn't I? 4 stars for Oppenheimer. I will see it again because I want to. And we'll see if that rating goes up or down. But for now, we'll move on to the next one I watched. Now, this part of the month of the year, I went abroad on a work trip. We won't get into it. It wasn't fun, but the flights were fun because we were in business class, which I've never flown. It was nuts. So I had we can lie down, you can stretch your legs out, and you can watch films on a bigger screen. So I soaked up some Lord of the Rings goodness, Everyone's always like, what films to watch on planes? Usually just good long ones. And it helps if they're Lord of the Rings. So I watched The Fellowship of the Ring first. I don't think I need to explain it. I'm sure I've told you about this before on the channel. It's Lord of the Rings. It's a 5-star banger. Straight up pacing, exposition, world building perfection. I love everything about the way that Peter Jackson builds this world. I love this story. I love the music of this one. Probably one of my favourite what has Marvel done to me? Probably one of my favourite credit songs of all time with Enya. Oh, so good. 5 stars for Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. You will not guess what I watch next on this flight. You've got 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. If you said Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, you're wrong. Huh? Let that be a fucking lesson. It was The Two Towers. I watched it. I watched the second one of the trilogy. Obviously, also just a masterclass. My favourite ending of the 3. Yes. Everyone's always like, what's your favourite Lord of the Rings film? People run up to you in the street, and before you have a chance to say anything, they grab you and say, what the hell is your favourite Lord of the Rings film? But I don't know is the answer to the question, because every one of them's got their own merits. But the ending of The Two Towers is probably my favourite ending of the 3. I don't know. Is it though? Yeah, I'm going to stick by it. Stick by your guns, Stu. It is. The monologue from Sam, the music, like where they are in the story, the sort of looking forward to the next one, looking back on everything that's happened to them. It's like the perfect sweet spot to end a film on. It makes me cry every time. I was a blubbering mess in the business class. 5 stars for The Two Towers. Now, the most crushing thing is that I did not have time to watch all of The Lord of the Rings. I could have watched like a third of Return of the King. But you know what? I sort of thought, I'm not going to do that. So what I did do was watch Puss in Boots: The Last Witch. Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. There we go. Second try lucky. Which is an animated film that came out this year about Puss in Boots from the Shrek franchise that I hadn't seen. Everyone, when it came out, was like, this is actually very, very good. So I was quite excited and interested to watch it and see what it was like. It was very good. People weren't lying. This thing was charming as hell. Not used to Florence Pugh being the weakest link in a film, but here we are. Yeah, that was weird. She wasn't good in this film. 3.5 stars for pushing... Why can't I say this film's name? 3.5 stars for Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Then what did I watch next? I went and watched The Conversation, a classic which I haven't seen before, so I wanted to watch it. I'm trying to get through a lot of 70s goodies because the 70s is just an absolute banger of a decade for film. This one was very, very good. Francis Ford Coppola. It stars The Hack. Any 70s film that has The Hack in it, I'm probably going to enjoy. Dude crushes pretty much everything he does, everything he touches, and unsurprisingly, he crushes this one too. Coppola kills it, The Hack kills it, great sense of paranoia and tension throughout, which is all the more remarkable given how little is actually shared with us as viewers. Yeah, a very good exhibit in how to pull your audience in without actually telling them too much. Like a large portion of all the information you get in this film is kind of suggested or assumptions that you make along with the lead characters, which is difficult to get right sometimes in films, but obviously Coppola is very good at it. 4 stars for The Conversation. But this is how The Conversation went for me. Hey, was that film The Conversation any good? Yes, it was. Then I finished it with another 70s film. I told you, listen, when you get going on the 70s train, you can't stop. You can't get off that train. Right? You can pull the brakes, but the train ain't stopping. And Tom Cruise is on the roof. The Parallax View, very good as well. A good little 70s thriller, which I actually hadn't heard about. I'd heard about it, but I didn't really know what to expect from it. Spent the first third worrying that it was just going to be a pretty run-of-the-mill 70s conspiracy thriller. Don't get me wrong, here for that shit, but it wasn't until this thing really gets going that the more interesting and impressive pieces start to pop out. It's like a really good kind of just building on staples of the 70s thriller genre, which I've just explained, I'm very much a big fan of. So I was already on a good level, but yeah, I was very delighted that it ended up going to places which surprised me and interested me and felt quite refreshing in the genre. Really love the way that people just get picked off in this film, right? Like it's a really nasty film to its characters, which I think makes for a much more kind of ruthless and relentless film in the end, and all just adds to that kind of general 70s political paranoia that's going on at the time. Awesome stuff. Another 4-star review there for the Parallax View. And with that, July is fucking way behind us. It's completely out the back view. And in front of me, what do I see? It's August, baby. Come on in. Come on in, August. Yeah. Do you want anything? Do you want a drink? No. Just noticed it's getting dark out. And that means that this light's probably going to start feeling way harsher on me. I feel a bit like I'm getting blinded, but I'm not going to turn it down. Started the film off with another comfort watch, Hot Fuzz, which is one of the Edgar Wright Cornetto trilogy films, which I just have a very, soft spot for it. It came out at a specific point in my life as a teenager where just, those films that just sort of latch onto you. This is an incredibly British film. And I know that it has a lot of love over the world, but I think there's nothing quite like watching this as a Brit and it just is wholly British. Watching it is so nostalgic, really, for a lot of things, like the Summerfield. I remember we used to have a Summerfield shop in our town before it became the Co-op. If you're not from the UK, you're going to be thinking, what are all these bloody words he's saying? But if you're from the UK, that shit, if you live through the Summerfield to Co-op transitions, my God, heavy times. Still supremely funny, quotable, and endlessly rewatchable. Yeah, this is like the sweet spot of Wright's filmography, I think, for me. Just firing on all cylinders. Just everything is beat perfect, right? It just gets to the next joke, gets to the next line really well. And again, in a similar way to what I was saying about Tropic Thunder, in that films tend to attract me more if they're, evidently well-versed in the stuff that they're pastiching. Edgar Wright just gets this kind of genre, this kind of, tiny England town, that kind of secret sort of vibe to it, Midsummer Murders style. Just weaves in so many different aspects of action films, of detective thrillers. It's so good. I love this film. 4.5 stars for Hot Fuzz. And then I watched another of my comfort films, which is Brigsby Bear, which if you've not seen Brigsby Bear, and I don't think a lot of people have, this film is so good. It's so very good. I have it on Blu-ray, I think from Germany, so I don't think it's particularly easy to get hold of. I don't know if it's probably streaming somewhere, but I like to have things, and so I went and got it from bloody Germany. That's how much I love this film. It's about a kid that was kidnapped that gets released and is trying to recreate VHS show that he was shown in captivity. It's incredibly charming, heartwarming, and emotional, but in a really kind of quiet and quaint way. I'm a very big fan of Kyle Mooney's comedy stuff. His stuff on SNL is always funny. His YouTube skits are hilarious, and he's so good in this role. And everyone's so good in this film. I just love it. It just, every time I watch it, it makes me feel so warm, and just makes me reflect and cherish, the relationships in my life and all that good stuff, which is what you want from a film. It's lovely. It's very lovely. 4.5 stars for Brigsby Bear. Then I watched Song to Song because, hang on here, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, hang on here. I think that I didn't log a film that I watched. Naughty Stuart. I'm not going to go back and find it and log it in, but previously on this year, I had watched Days of Heaven, the Terrence Malick film, for the first time ever. It's a first-time watch. Loved it. Thoroughly loved it. And what happens usually is if I go back and watch a film I haven't seen from a director and I love it, I'll just be like, I need to watch more of the director's stuff. And I've seen a lot of Terrence Malick films, but I was suddenly on a please give me Terrence Malick films vibe. So we sat down and watched Song to Song, which is another Terrence Malick film I have not seen. And let me tell you guys, I really loved this film, like truly loved this film, which was kind of surprising for me because it's a part of the kind of 3 films that Malick did after The Tree of Life, which I think a lot of people will say felt like a director that had kind of lost his magic a bit. He stopped shooting with scripts. Everything became very hyper Malicky, like very floaty and monologue-y. But I actually, even though it's quite easy to pull apart and parody and, laugh at, I actually find it incredibly effective still. And, even though I haven't enjoyed all of his films to the same extent as others, I don't think his newer ones after Tree of Life are that bad. I think they're just a little bit different, and they're just asking for a bit more from you as a viewer in terms of attention, which isn't me trying to sound wanky, but it just is. I know post Tree of Life Malik is wildly railed on, but I fucking love this. Not going to pretend not to understand what people are bored by here, but I find it all mesmerizing. No, I didn't say that word right, but I find it all fucking mesmerizing and moving as hell. Yeah, I'm so enamored, right, and just completely hypnotized by Malik's work at this point. It's a long film. I get it. I get why people switch off and find it dull or boring and don't get lots from it. For me, it makes me feel shit that works, right? I also helps that I went to Austin last year, and like I spent a lot of this film going, went there, went there, went there, went there. 4.5 stars for Song to Song. Then on the 12th, I rewatched Avatar: The Way of Water, which is a film I've been meaning to rewatch for a while. Not least because I wasn't a fan of the way that James Cameron presented this film in cinemas. The whole variable frame rate 3D stuff. It was, you know, it was a very beautiful film in the cinema. I've got a review for it on the channel. Did I? I think I did. Let me check. No, I didn't review this film. Damn it. I didn't review this film. Awkward. In the cinema, it's just distracting. The way that the frame rate changes makes things look a bit cheaper than they are. I mean, it is a gorgeous film to look at. I really enjoyed it first time, but I didn't love it. But I was interested to see how it would hold up second time around. So we got it on 4K on a nice new TV, which always helps. And I was very hungover, so we thought, let's do it. Let's find 3.5 hours and watch Avatar: Way of Water again. And let me tell you guys, the film is so good. Like this is it. I loved it. This is a rewatch. This is the rewatch you want to happen. Rocked my little socks. So much better in round 2. Who would have thought the lack of changing frame rates would make for a more immersive watch? Colour me surprised, quote, and blue. That's a great joke from past me. I have to address it. But yeah, just that much more engrossing without being distracted by frame rate stuff. I love the whole middle act of this film where they're just hanging out with whales. As soon as there are subtitles for whales and they're just talking to whales while they swim in this film, I knew this film was going to slap for me. I just knew it. The fact that the lead character of this film can call his daughter baby girl at least 6 times through this film, and I can still sit here and say I think it deserves 4.5 stars, should tell you all you need to know about how much I enjoy this film. Then on the 13th, I watched a film which I've been meaning to check out for a long time, All the Beauty in the Bloodshed, which is a documentary that I'm not going to say too much about because I think it's one of those documentaries that's, you just let it inform you and reveal itself to you. I will say it's just about an activist trying to take down the Sackler family, who are at the heart of the opioid crisis in America. That's all I'll say, but it was on BBC iPlayer. I missed it in cinema, so I was like, yes, I'm going to sit down and watch this thing. And yes, it was amazing. It was a wonderful documentary. It was everything I wanted it to be and a little bit more, I might say. Holy moly, this was fantastic. Weaves its threads expertly, dipping into different spaces at just the right moment. Obviously very heavy at points, but also invigorating. Loved it. 4.5 stars for All the Beauty in the Bloodshed. Just sublime stuff. Then on the 14th, we kicked back with a film which I had not heard of at all, but just popped up on the TV and I thought, I like the people in this film. It's got Micah Monroe in it, and that is it. That's literally the only reason we watched this film. It's called Significant Other, and it's a kind of little indie sci-fi thriller film, which I don't want to say too much because it does have a lot of sort of twisty things in there, and it is sort of doing things a bit differently to what you might expect. It's just... the long and short of it is it's a couple that go to the woods and some shit happens, is all I'm saying. It had a lot of promise and there are things I really liked about it, but ultimately it was really frustrating in that it is one of those films which you know could have been done really well. Like there is a world in which this was done better and was a remarkably good film for it, but the way it is done just feels a little bit flat, a little bit forced, which is really annoying because I want to live in a world where this film's premise is pulled off well. One of those, this could have been super unique and great if it was written well films. Didn't I just say it? 2.5 stars for Significant Other. More like a significant no thanks. My pun work, it remains on top form. Then on the 18th, I watched another film from the 70s that I had not seen before, which may get some pitchforks, but I've seen it now, so everyone can calm down. That is The Godfather Part 2. We watched the first Godfather when it was released in cinemas earlier in the year, and I hadn't seen the second or the third one, so I got them on 4K on the trilogy, and we decided to watch them as you do when you get films. But it took us a while. We finally sat down with Part 2, and I just, Godfather and The Godfather Part 2 are those films which just feel annoying to have to review or say anything about at this point because they are the films they are. So, like, yes, I gave it 5 stars. Is it surprising? If I give The Godfather and The Godfather Part 2 5 stars, you're probably just going to go, ugh, you know? But they are very good. Like, there's no point in me saying it. They're very good. First time watch, not going to add anything new here. Completely slaps. It really does completely slap. And we should have intermissions in film more often. Right? We just should. 5 stars for The Godfather Part 2. Then on the 24th of August, we're getting to the end of the month here. Penultimate film that I saw was Past Lives, which has only just come out in the cinemas here. I was very fortunate to get to a press screening. I just got so busy, I couldn't review it before its release. For now though, this is 100% my shit, so unsurprisingly I spent basically the last half hour in various stages of tears. Yes, definitely a moving film. Really, really gentle and kind of very confident debut here, which I think works really well. Everyone's great in it. I've since seen it a second time and it solidified many things for me. I don't think the film is as wholly wowing for me as I would have liked it to have been. I think there are a few missteps along the way, which I hate to be that guy, but do feel a little bit like first time directing missteps. And also, I'm not sure a film has come along in a while that's had such a bad opening scene and yet such an incredible closing scene. You know, that's weird. It's very knowing of the cliches that it's trying to avoid, and I think once or twice in a film, a few too many times for my liking, it will more explicitly kind of address that to us as a viewer, and I don't think it needed that. I think we get that watching the film. I think it's one of the things that makes a film so great is that it subverts expectations, but it doesn't need to tell us that it's subverting expectations. I think it gets a little bit close to the line there sometimes. I'm trying to say this without spoiling things, but I think the performances are so good, and the look of this film, and the sound of this film, the beautiful score, they're so good that it all makes it worth it, and it all makes it click and become incredibly emotional. I really love the end of this film, and I love where it goes, and I love the character work in here. Very delicate, very tender, very good. 4 stars for Past Lives. And that's a spoiler for last month on Letterboxd. I saw it again and I still gave it 4 stars. Then the last film I watched in August, good grief, was Fated to My Forbidden Alpha, which is a film you probably haven't heard of. I only heard about it because I saw the Curtis Connor video on it. Just YouTube Curtis Connor, Fated to My Forbidden Alpha. You'll see all you need to see. We were in Cornwall. We'd just been playing D&D for like 2 days. We needed to watch some trash for some beers at the end of the day. This was the one that came to mind. It is an entirely... there's just no way to describe this film, really. It is vertical. It exists on an app. So the only way to watch it is either by having said app, which we did not pay for or get, or watching like a screen recording of someone's phone. It's a remarkable viewing experience. It's about betas and alphas in rival wolf packs. One of the most kind of horribly sexually charged, terrible sort of young adult attempts, I guess, that I've maybe ever seen. 0.5 star. Holy shit is all I have to say about that one. I don't want to talk about it anymore. I'd rather forget about it. What an insane film. 2023, you are nuts, man. You are crazy for this. And that is it. That is the end of August, and therefore the end of summer, I guess, in my own weird way. That is everything I've been watching since May. How was that for a catch-up? I feel a bit drained after that. 4 months. I feel like I need to go lie down and not move or talk for a week. But of course, I want to know what you guys have been watching and what you thought of all of the bangers that have come out over summer. Not just Barbie, not just Oppenheimer. Anything else you've been seeing, let me know. And we'll have a little chat. And let me know if you disagree with me greatly on any things in here that I saw. And of course, I'm always open to suggestions for films you want me to check out. I like filling up the watch list. Can't guarantee I'll get to it very quickly because I am perpetually terrible at just putting things on that I've already seen rather than going to new things in a watch list. I'm trying to get better at it. But yeah, let me know what you've been watching and any big recommendations you have. Put them in the comments. I'll try to add them to my watch list and we'll see if they come up in a future last month on Letterboxd. I've been here for so long, it's dark outside already. It feels weirdly quite ominous. I know I have a balcony on the top floor, so no one's getting in there. Unless fucking Spider-Man lives in Tottenham. But I am suddenly aware that there's a vast blackness behind me. If you enjoyed the video and you want to see me talk about more shit, go ahead and click subscribe. The button is down there for that, as well as links to my socials, my Letterboxd, where you can follow me, and, you know, just some words and things. Whatever you expect to see in the description, it's in there. I'll see you guys soon for some more thoughts on more films. It's about to get busy again on the channel, so get excited for that. Film festival season is in full effect. But until next time, I am going to finish this now warm beer. I've had about that. It's just warm beer.